These are the consequences of a ridiculously ineffective balance patch. So it feels like season 6 is pretty much just an extension of season 5.5 because a lot of the things that were really, just I guess turning our screws and making us really mad about the state of the game weren't really addressed. Nothing was really fixed, and it's really annoying because they obviously don't know how to balance the game correctly, but it feels like they used to. Like they had it down for a little bit, and then they kind of shifted their balance philosophy in a way that kind of it's just buff everything, and then everything's overpowered, and then nothing's overpowered, which is not gonna it's not gonna work that way. And so I think their balance philosophy, it sounds like they don't play their own game and that they're just kind of listening to themselves, and glazing themselves and not really not really taking the feedback of the community into consideration in this. So let's go over all the little changes and why they are so inconsequential. So first of all, for the supports, we're going to start off with the supports because my god, oh man, support is playing against Invis and Gambit is just rough. So I'm gonna start off with Gambit because I personally like playing Gambit. Gambit was a really fun character in my opinion, and they nerfed his kit, his base kit, his neutral kit, but they practically did nothing to his ult. They made it so that you heal a little bit less, sure, but the thing is, when you have all of these buffs, extra movement speed, extra jump speed, extra ult charge, extra damage, it's like you're not really going to be taking that much damage anyway, because if let's say you're going up against a Hela, you just jump up really high, you're moving really fast anyway, you're very hard to shoot, and then you get let's say you're 80% to ult on an ability, you get a Gambit ult, and then you get it really fast, right? So it wasn't the amount of healing that was the problem with Gambit's ult, it was all of the things that Gambit's ult does. So I think what the nerf should have addressed instead should have been the amount of effects that the ult did, right? So in my opinion, I feel like it should have been the duration of the ult should have been nerfed by about 2 seconds at least, and then the ult charge buff should have been removed, because those two things were probably the most abusable parts of the kit. So. But now, like, it's not that different. Like it's still abusable. It's still all the things that made the character wrong are still there. So it's just annoying, right? But now he does a little bit less healing, so I guess he indirectly gets it a little bit less often. But let's be honest, like the healing slop in this game is just it's really kind of out of control, right? So I think if you want the neutral to matter more, you need the ult game, or the ultimates themselves, to have less of an impact, right? And that's going to start. The only way to start doing that is by nerfing the ultimates. So, well, that's my opinion on Gambit. Next is going to be Invis, and pretty much all of the changes that they did were to her self shield, which I have been saying for months. Take away her fucking self-shield. Oh my fucking god, please. It breaks game design. Like, you pretty much reduce the window of vulnerability to practically nothing when you give her 3 or 4 ways to escape a situation, right? And the thing is that all of the nerfs to her shield wouldn't have been necessary if she just didn't have a self-shield. So because nobody was complaining about the shield not doing enough before she was able to self-shield, but all of a sudden now she has a self-shield and it needs to do less healing. It needs to come back online a lot less often, and you got to make all these changes, which again were just stupid and unnecessary. Take away her self-shield, and then nerf everything else around it. Nerf the amount of CC she has. Take away the slow from the shield. Nerf the range on her push and her pull. That shit does not need to be 35 meters and can also push you 10 meters, right? Like, what? There's no reason she can be like set like so far into her own backline and have an effect that's all the way in the front. It's 0 risk, 100% reward. So it's just we're minimizing the period in which the Invis is punishable, and all the things that make her obnoxious are still really good, and it's very annoying. It's very, 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 very annoying. She's already very overkitted. So yeah, the nerfs, sure, they're okay, but just if you just take away her self shield, you don't need to nerf her actual shield. So it's just an issue of recognizing what the issue was to begin with, which is what I'm saying when I meant that they're just buff everything, and it's like now you're nerfing things that you buffed earlier, which if you hadn't have buffed them earlier, they wouldn't need to be nerfed. So yeah. Those are my two main problems with support. It's just those two characters. They're just not. They just don't know. They just don't know what they're doing with those two. All right. So next would be the C&D buffs. Her bubble, I think, it is after playing against it, it doesn't feel overpowered. If anything, it feels a little bit more useful. And they just kind of shifted the power so that, okay, if you land your bubble precisely where you need it, you're a little bit more rewarded for doing that. So it's not a big deal. Her ult is still very punishable. A good C&D will still find ways to get value out of their ult. So I feel like C&D, although she still contributes quite a bit to like the healing slop in the game. I think she's probably the most balanced of the invincibility, ultimates, in my opinion. Next is Adam. Okay, so here's the thing. I play a lot of Adam. I like playing Adam. Adam's fun. And I have a 55% win rate on Adam. I would assume I'm probably one of the at least top 100 Adams, in North America, at least. But the thing is that a lot of people don't play with decent Adams. And the thing is, even if you do play with a good Adam, yes, the character does have some pretty crazy flaws. And it's not that he's unbalanced, it's that everybody else is overkitted. So a few seasons ago, they nerfed Adam's soul bond from 30 seconds to 40 seconds because in triple support, yeah, it was a huge problem. But Invis has a self shield, so it's like you obviously don't really care about game design if you're giving Invisible Woman 4 ways to escape getting dove and to forgive her awful positioning. So for me, in my opinion, as long as Invis has a self shield, Adam can have a 30-second soul bond. I think they should give him back his soul bond cooldown because it's very silly that it's 40 seconds and then you can still die in the soul bond. And additionally, when you come back from spawn, it's still on cooldown. It doesn't reset. So that's just really silly. Every other ability in this game resets when you come back from spawn, except for fucking soul bond. So I think they can they can reduce the duration or the cooldown of soul bond because it lasts 5 seconds and then it goes on a 40-second cooldown. So it's 45 seconds in total before you can press the button again. So I think they need to bring that down quite a bit to probably at least 35. I'd like it to be 30, but I can see why the ability is a little bit can be abused in triple support. So, but again, as long as Invis has a self shield, you can give Adam a 30-second cooldown. You'll be just fine. And additionally, I think let's look at the lore a little bit. Adam Warlock is this like cosmic, like perfect being. I feel like Adam should have some sort of mobility. I feel like they should give him a dash. Like let's say you double click your jump button. Maybe you give him a little dash that does damage and heals him for, I don't know, 30 healing or something like that. It's something small. Because the purpose of the dash is well, okay, let's consider how you play Adam right now, right? You have to be really, really, really preemptive with your positioning, because wherever you position, you need to be ready to get out, right? You need to give yourself time to escape a potential dive, or you need to position yourself in a way that's sort of dangerous, that if somebody does want to dive you, they risk, either getting peel or somebody looking at him or whatever, right? So why do I think that, if that's the way that you play Adam, why do I think that he needs a dash? Well, the thing is that like it would give him a little bit more flexibility with how you play the character, right? So you can be a little bit more DPSy, which is kind of the whole point of Adam, right? The whole point of Adam is that he's not a heal bot support. He's a little bit more damage, right? So if he's able to position himself a little bit more aggressively and get out, then that'll facilitate the aggressiveness a bit more, in my opinion. So I think 35-second soul bond and a dash on his on like a double jump that does a little bit of healing and also maybe does a little bit of damage as well, up close, because his biggest weakness is up close threats. And that's pretty much it. I think everybody else is balanced. And you know what? From my personal balance philosophy, I think if you look at a character like Mantis is perfectly balanced. And right now she's really good. If you're a really good Mantis player, you're getting a lot of value. But Mantis, in my opinion, she's a good mix between a decent amount of heals, a really good ultimate, a nice utility. Mantis is, I think, the blueprint. I think if we get more characters to look like Mantis, the game would overall be a little bit more healthy. But yeah, that's my opinion on supports. I'm not that much of a support player. I like Adam. I like Ultron. I don't dare touch Rocket or C and D or any of those supports. They're just not the way that I like playing the game. But yeah. Oh yeah, and the Rocket nerf to his mobility. Yay, good. He's a rat. You know, he has the tiniest hitbox in the game. I think it's fine. As somebody who doesn't play Rocket, I don't think there's situations where I'm winning or losing fights just because he runs a little bit slower. It doesn't happen very often, but you know, whatever. Next, we're going to go to the DPS, which, oof, my goodness. First and foremost, Kingsman drama, rework. Widow needs a rework. Please do the rework. Please watch my rework video that I just posted a little while ago. That should hopefully get a little bit of insight. This character should be a melee hero, not a sniper. We don't need sniper characters in hero-based shooters. I think that was just a bad decision to start off with that from the beginning. So, yeah, that's Widow. The blade buffs, in my opinion, are neutral. They're more like a mini rework, and honestly, it feels like this is where the character should have been with to begin with, right? Because it doesn't make sense that, okay, you have your gun that works more at long range. So if you dash with your gun, now there's a slow, but it's like, why do you want to slow somebody with your gun if you're gonna do less damage up close? Right, you have to be close to land the ability. You're not going to get any. It's going to be really difficult to follow up unless you immediately switch to your bloodline form and then dash again. Right, so it's just not, it's just kind of dumb. It's just kind of dumb. I feel like they should have kept the 40% heal reduction on his gun to make it a little bit more useful, because what I was doing before is that if I really wanted to focus somebody down, I would take out the gun. And I would dash into somebody and give them the heal reduction, so that, let's say it's a tank on the front line, we're all focusing them, they get 40% less healing, and it's just, it does make a decent impact. But now that he doesn't have the heal reduction, and instead it's a slow, it's kind of like, well, who cares? Tanks are slowed all the time. So if you use it on a support, that's not really going to result in the support's death, especially if you're doing it to an invis. Right, she'll just self-shield and jump. Right? It's not going to do anything. So I think they should have kept the 40% heal reduction on the gun to make it useful, and then keep the 30% heal reduction on the sword. I think that's where the power should have been anyway. So I think that's a good change. It's a decent. So the blade. The blade changes to his blade were good. The changes to his gun, I feel like they should have just added to it instead of replacing, if you know what I mean. But yeah, anyways. And even then, I don't think that's going to give him the utility he's going to need to be meta, in my opinion. So yeah, there's that. Daredevil, wrong nerfs. They did nothing. They practically did fucking nothing, because the problem was not his one-shot combo. Like, sure, yeah, he can. I mean, one-shots are always tough. It's to kind of work around with. The problem was his survivability, because once you have a character who is as survivable as he is, who can hit combos ridiculously fast and get a bunch of overhealth from hitting them, then it doesn't matter how much damage they they do in a burst, because as long as they can hit the combos super fast, they're always going to generate overhealth, and then they're never going to need to get out. So the changes should have been either one or the other, either less overhealth on his abilities or less furies gained from hitting people. Because right now it's you need to hit somebody twice to get 1 fury back. So make it so that you need to hit somebody 3 times to get a fury back instead. I feel like that would have been the perfect change. And that would actually affect his uptime, it would affect his burst damage, and it would affect his survivability. Perfect. How did they not see that? Like, I came up with this like 2 seasons ago. But whatever. So Daredevil's practically the same, which contributes to the feeling of this is still season 5.5. And then we have characters like Hawkeye, Hela. They still practically feel the same. Hela's projectiles are just massive for some reason. I feel like her projectile styles probably needs to get nerfed or brought down by about 10 to 15% to make them harder to hit. The character itself is just kind of, she has too many options. Her stun should have been her only way of being, her only counterplay towards dive, but instead she has 2, right? So now she can use the stun offensively, which when you use it offensively, and you move somebody to where they're a little bit more predictable to hit, and you have a 2-tap, like it's just a huge problem. So it shouldn't have been that she got overhealth for dashing. It shouldn't have been that she also had a stun. It should have been one or the other. Or either you have a stun or you have mobility. But honestly, they could have made the mobility kind of like Phoenix, where it's on a resource, you can't shoot, and it's strictly used for repositioning. I mean, that would have been perfect. If they would have done that instead of invulnerability, that would have made the character a little bit more balanced. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Widow. Unless they change that, the character is always going to be problematic. But I think the immediate nerf that they could give to her is reducing the projectile size of her bullets, because they're just huge. Moon Knight is starting to become a problem. Just based off of what I was seeing towards the end of last season and now this season, whenever they gave him a second Moonblade, they made it so that he practically almost always has one, and that thing does a lot of damage. So when you onk somebody and hit him with the Moonblade, it's almost a one-shot, right? And it wouldn't be too big of a problem, but it knocks you in. And it's a CC, so you can't really escape, and it's just, there's not that much counterplay to it. So I feel like Moon Knight, the change that they should make with him is just take away the CC from his Onk. All right, like you gave him 2 Moonblades, he has a one-shot almost every time. If you just make, the sound cue is already very loud, so just take away the CC. You gave us some counterplay, please. He already doesn't have to aim, right? So just take away the CC, in my opinion. Namor buffs were okay. I think he is a little bit more powerful, but he's not taking over the game. I think those were good, healthy buffs, in my opinion. Phoenix definitely needs a nerf. Oh my gosh, her stun is the most annoying thing in the game. There's no reason why a stun that's practically on a hit scan, that you just point and, wherever you're pointing at, anywhere on the map is stunned. I feel like it shouldn't have to stun you 3 times in a row. And slow you, and go through shields. I feel like if they want to have a stun, fine, and it's good that it could be used as damage as well. But it shouldn't have 3 explosions that go in a line that could penetrate shields. It should have 1 singular explosion that doesn't slow. So yeah, I feel like if they're gonna nerf anything, that stun is probably the most annoying thing from her kit, and I'm of the opinion of less CC. The less CC, the better. So you nerf her stun, I feel like that would help. But her survivability and her instant dash is also kind of stupid. I don't even see why the character needed that to begin with when she can already fly, and she already has a stun. So you gave this character 3 tools to counter dive, which doesn't make any sense. Melee characters should be able to miss less up close and theoretically out damage a Phoenix in those situations. So nerf her stun And I think a really good idea that I've heard other people talk about is whenever she does her instant transmission and she teleports somewhere, the little dash, make it so that there's a trail so that you can see where she dashes to, just to make it a little bit more, just to give it some more counterplay. Psylocke is interesting because she was very much taking over the game last season, but because everybody else is so powerful, you know, playing Psylocke is still good. A good Psylocke is scary, and her ult is still like ridiculously powerful, which is probably one of the only good things about her because she can kill through support ultimates. But Psylocke right now, if it were me, she wouldn't be top priority. I feel like all these other characters in the game should probably be a higher priority, and I think Bucky, the last one, Bucky, in my opinion, just too much. Just too much. He's one of those overkitted characters. I think the way that he was on launch was he was already really, really good, and they made him so that he's better against dive, which he's better now against dive than he was on launch. So some of the changes were good, but like you gave him 2 slows, which, you know, CC slop in this game is already crazy, so he just runs it down main and gets his ult charge without killing anything because he could just, you know, it goes through people. The grounding on his uppercut is kind of annoying. So it's just, you know, there's a lot of things that he can change, that can be changed on this character, but I think change number 1 is revert the amount of slows he has to just 1. He doesn't need to. Now landing the uppercut can be annoying, but I feel like it's a necessary evil, in my opinion, against some dive, because it is a little bit of a skill shot. You do have to be a little bit more precise with it, but yeah. So that's my opinion on the DPS characters. As you can see, it is a lot of things didn't change. A lot of people didn't get buffed or nerfed in the right way. So yeah, it is pretty much exactly the same season. But the tank role overall feels so balanced. I've always loved playing tank. And I prefer tank in this game over tank in Overwatch. This game you actually feel like a tank, because there's not a lot of characters that can just 2-tap you, right? Or have a burst of 300 damage with a pistol. Cassidy. Fucking hate that motherfucker. Anyways, so, but overall, let's look at some of the changes. Angela, the nerf to Angela did nothing. I mean, I don't see why they even did that. I mean, some people are saying that, yeah, they see less Angela because she's a little bit less punishable with her shield. That's not the problem. The problem is the CC, right? So they made the change so that you move a little bit faster. Like I think 2 seasons ago, with her spear dash. So when you're on the tip of her spear, you know, she's able to move you like ridiculously far. I feel like if they wanted to nerf her, they would probably nerf the distance of how far she can move, because the fact that she can move faster I think is okay, but she just moves a little bit too far. So make it so that once somebody's on her tip, I know that it already lasts a little like less. Let's say theoretically it lasts 3 seconds, and then when you dash somebody, it's like 1.5 seconds. I don't think those are the actual numbers, but make it so that now it lasts 1.1 seconds or 1.2 seconds or something like that. Because yeah, it is kind of silly how far she can move, and that's the most annoying part of her kit, not her shield. So yeah, the Hulk buffs were interesting. Now, I'm not a Hulk player. I don't really understand how his kit works that much. Like, I do a little bit. But I feel like the changes were good. He's not like ridiculously overpowered, and you know, sometimes you do still see the character here and there, but unless you're a really good Hulk, you're not really taking over a lobby all that much. And he's counterable. Like I don't know. I feel like the Hulk buffs are interesting, and you know what? The complexity of the Hulk buffs are interesting because to me it feels like there's somebody that works at NetEase who actually knows what they're doing, except they only work on the tank role and they don't have any input on the support role, which is a shame because like these changes are not as simple as, oh, give Hulk more buffs, oh, give Hulk more button, oh, give Hulk extra free value so that, wow, make it so that he can use his bubble now when he's in his ult, you know, like they don't do stupid bullshit like that. So it shows that there's potential. There's somebody at NetEase that actually knows how to balance games in a way that's more intricate. That actually understands the character. So there's potential. There's potential out there. The cat buff with his with the shield throw, I think it's good quality of life. It's not overpowered or anything. It gives him a little bit more uptime. Cap is in an okay spot. He's counterable. A good Cap is still scary, but you know he's fine. Tank pool I think is good. I haven't played against him enough, but there have been some instances where I'm like, wow, like I can't kill this guy, right? So it's I think his potential as a character is really, really good. I'm really excited to see where this character goes. Strange is okay. I like the changes that they made to him. I think that he's powerful in a good way. So I don't think he's overpowered. I don't think he's taking over the game, and I think he's a very good, strong pick. Emma, the changes to Emma that about her how quickly she can ramp up her damage, I think were okay. They didn't really break the game as much as I thought they would, but. You know, I think it was fine. It didn't really make a huge difference in my opinion. Groot's okay. Mag is still a little bit overtuned. You're gonna see in this game right now, I actually got MVP. I got 49,000 damage, only 5 deaths, tons of deaths. This is probably one of my best Magneto games ever. And part of that has to do with the fact that I can self-bubble, right? So I'm not really using the self-bubble so much to I guess protect myself. I'm using it more for aggression and to take space, which is cool, but the character didn't need that because of, you know, all the other ways that he could take space. He didn't. I still firmly, as a 190-hour Magneto in Celestial, I firmly believe that Magneto does not need 2 bubbles. Please revert that change because I got. Sorry, I think my microphone went out, so I had to that it was working well. But like I was saying about Magneto, I got worse at the game because I have 2 bubbles and I have the opportunity to make more mistakes more often. But yeah, that's my opinion on the Mag bubbles. Penny, I think we're kind of back to square one with Penny because she doesn't have the 2 nests anymore. She's really good at one thing and one thing only. And I feel like we need to move her power around so that she's better at other things. And honestly, all of her utility is defensive. I don't play Penny very often. I know how to play against her, but I just don't know. I don't know the intricacies of what the character would need to shift her power on a more offensive playstyle versus defensive. So I mean, that's something I'd have to look into. But we're back to square one with Penny. She still kind of needs changes, in my opinion. But honestly, right now, I'm relieved that she's not like a perma pick on almost all of the good defensive maps. Rogue is okay. She has her weaknesses. She has her strengths. I think she's in a really good spot right now. And yeah, she's fine. The Thing changes were actually really good. I like playing Thing, and I feel like he's quite a bit more useful and a little bit more skill dependent. They shifted his power towards hitting your punch instead of just spamming it randomly. And so now you have to think a little bit more whenever you decide to use either the damage vulnerability or the damage reduction. So yeah, they made the character better. I like what they did. And lastly, well, the last 2 tanks, in my opinion, Thor, his CC is still a little bit obnoxious, but I feel like he needs it in order to be good. So, you know, he's counterable, he's good, he's a ranked demon, so I don't know. I wouldn't make any changes to Thor. His survivability is kind of high, yes, but most of the time, once you get Bucky, Wolf, or something, he becomes quite a bit more counterable, so, yeah. And then Venom, he's okay. A few seasons ago, he was a little bit obnoxious because of his healing reduction, but now that there's all this they gave the supports infinite buffs, it kind of doesn't matter. So his buff, his healing reduction buff kind of ended up being, you know, but you know, it's not overpowered. It's not overpowered, but it's not underpowered. I think it's in a good spot. But anyways, the overall point of this is that the season feels just kind of the same because it feels like the person who is buffing, who is in control of balancing tanks, actually knows how to do their jobs, and everybody else just doesn't. It's like that. It's almost like as if hero design is a brand new thing in video games. But anyways, y'all, I appreciate you guys listening to my rant. Well, I guess this is more of a season review. It's been a little bit over a week since the season started. So, yeah, these are my thoughts. I hope NetEase kind of learns from this, because another thing that people I've been seeing a lot are the servers. They've been kind of doo-doo lately, and the queue times have been just obnoxiously high. And part of me thinks that it's not the servers. Part of me thinks that like just people didn't come back to the game specifically because of how samey the game feels like and how much bullshit there is in the game. So, but that's my theory. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but I feel like the more changes to this game, the less CC, the better. The game still has potential, and I still very much enjoy playing this game much more than Overwatch, in my opinion. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed my really sick Magneto gameplay and me getting jumped by a fucking Hulk on a ceiling. Oh man, I hate that Hulk so much. Anyways, adios!